is Jorge Hernandez, Public Information Officer for Albuquerque Community Safety. We'd like to welcome you to the Alvarado Transportation Center, or the ATC, for today's press conference, which is officially announcing a new office space for Albuquerque Community Safety on the premises. With the new space, the department will better serve downtown Albuquerque, as it will house both responders and supervisors on site. We'd like to thank the ATC for their hospitality and for being gracious hosts here and our new neighbors. With that said, we have some formal statements from city leadership and leadership in general, so we'll kick things off with Mayor Tim Keller.
Okay, thanks. All right. Well, good afternoon, and we appreciate everyone who's here today, of course. And what I want to do, I think, first is just kind of set us in place for a minute. We say ATC really quickly. This is the Alvarado Transit Station, which of course is the old Alvarado Hotel. This was the old restaurant, which is still a great space. It is not currently in use, so if you're wondering why like the lights are out and stuff like that, it's because we're actually kind of redesigning how this whole area is going to work. But the first thing that we wanted to do was make sure that we have a home for our community safety department. Now, by way of background, of course, our community safety department is our third branch of first responders, and they take all sorts of calls, but primarily behavioral mental health calls and also down and outs, things like this, anything that doesn't need a high level of either police work or EMT work. Now, what they do take is things that require a high level of casework and follow-up and de-escalation and all sorts of other triage aspects. And we know there's a need for this downtown. ACS has now been around 3 years, and they do work downtown. But as that department continues to grow, just like a police or a fire department, there's a need for more efficient dispatch, because we can't have everyone driving to one facility and then spending time to drive all around the rest of the city. And so this is an old problem that always exists, but this is the first formal step in adding a second office, a second home for ACS. And we do that based on need. And so there should be no doubt as to the need for additional community services and for social work and for first response downtown. And so we're doing a co-location effort, of course, at this facility with the ACS department. And so this will be their first official field office, if you will, and a welcome addition to everyone that's working to try and make downtown safe. Again, we know we have a long ways to go. We got to make it safe. We got to make it clean. We know that it is probably better than last year, but we also acknowledge that it's worse than 4 years ago. So we're doing a number of aspects, a number of things to deal with this, but a big change is going to be to have our community safety department, these folks right here, literally right at Alvarado Transit Station. And so they're able to connect people right away to the right resources that they need. We think directly and indirectly this is going to help with a number of challenges in this area. Obviously, a general challenge around keeping eyes on the street and public safety. They help with that because they're dialed in with dispatch and they can call on whatever other resources they need. We also know this is a major signal that illegal behavior will not be tolerated downtown, because they will also radio that in to the appropriate downtown police department just 2 streets up. We also know that a lot of people, though, are here needing help, moving through our public transit system or through our shelter system. And so they're going to be able to provide transportation, direct transportation, voluntary, of course, to actually get people off the street and into services and to a place where they can actually get help. Now, a couple of other things just to remind folks on. ACS in general has taken 82,000 calls. That is 82,000 calls that, in general, police and fire did not have to take. But that's also 82,000 responses where we had the right response at the right time. And so for us, this program we think is tremendously helpful on a number of fronts, and that's also why we're expanding it. And that involves that physical expansion, of course, as I mentioned, the first one being right here in downtown. We do have plans to expand ACS to other parts of the city. We know in general we need one in kind of every 4 quadrants. With this, we'll have 2, and so we got to work on probably at least a west side location, which I know is in the works, but we're working on that next. Now, I think the other piece that I would share is this comes in conjunction with 2 efforts that we announced around the state of the city. One is trying to increase public safety on our buses and the layered approach that we're using for that. So obviously, because this is where all our buses go through. So as a reminder, we're using ACS to offer services. We're using our security folks just to remind people that illegal behavior will not be tolerated. That includes drug use. And that also includes making sure that folks are riding the bus appropriately to get from point A to B, that you can't actually just stay on the bus all day. And instead, we want to get you services and get you the help that you need, and that's what ACS is doing on the bus. So this is part of, we're working on the bus, we're working at the stops, and then we're also working now at our main bus station, essentially, which is the Alvarado Transit Station. And so we are going to continue to extend some of this layered approach. Again, it's services, it's enforcement, and it's escalation. But in the end, APD and their transit safety officers are absolutely involved, whether it's on the bus or at a bus stop or right here at Alvarado Transit Station. So that's what we mean by layered, is we match the response with the issue. And so for us, too, we're going to try and see if this works, if this takes, and then we're going to sort of expand that perimeter and look at sort of a safety corridor going from in particular, this train station when the train's here over to areas like the main grocery store just a couple of blocks up. So we're going to continue to build on this. You can see that we're starting with ideas and sort of setting boundaries and establishing new public safety standards and making sure that we can ride the bus for free, we can be in our city safely, and we can do that every day. And then we're going to expand that outwards to make sure that one day, hopefully, we can say that about all of our city and all of downtown. But we're starting right here at Alvarado Transit Station. So with more on that, let's hand it over first to our city councilor, who knows all about these issues and lives downtown, Councilor Joaquin Baca.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Esquivel. Thank you to the folks who really do the work down here. This is, we get called all the time. How do we get to ACS? How do we get more support? And the whole city needs support. And here we also have some special challenges because we're here at the Transit Center and the Greyhound Center, and there's so many other supportive services here. So having direct support here is a huge, huge help. More than that, I think a lot of the folks, especially in the downtown area, know that, when ACS is here, they're not just helping our unhoused neighbors. They're helping the business owners. They're helping the residents. They're helping just people who are down here at restaurants and so forth. They really are community support. And so I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's here and everybody who will be continuing to do the work. And luckily, I'm after the mayor, so I don't have to get into any details. Thank you.
All right, and now let's bring up our Director of the Albuquerque Community Safety Department, Jody Esquivel.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor. And thank you, Director Keener, for the space. So I want to say a lot of thanks to start out. We're beyond excited to be able to start this new implementation with a strategic expansion. I know Mayor talked about it, but it's something that's been on my heart since the very beginning of starting, understanding how we can make ACS run more efficiently for the community. So thank you Transit, and thank you to our responders. I do want to pause and take a small moment just to say thank you to our responders that continue to answer the call, the ones that are here and the ones that aren't here. The demand is increasing. The community needs us, and they continue to answer the call. They work the long shifts, all graveyard. And I just want to pause for everybody that supports Albuquerque community safety to include the responders. This is step one. This is step one to that expansion that we talked about, being more strategic with our outreach. The central location was really strategic in the way that we looked at it. So now we're able to pull the data and say, okay, in the last 6 months, in a half-a-mile radius around this building, we respond 1,000 times. And so what does that mean? That means this is where the calls are. And so to be able to source ACS here and have a quicker response time, to have a bigger presence, to be able to have the walk-bys and reach out to the community because we know that the calls are here. We've also had our Connect to Care events here. So ACS Connect to Care events have been actually here at this location, and what that event is we have a bunch of community partners, to include our street medicine team, to where we're doing the housing assessments here. We are actually trying to find the problem on why people might be unsheltered and how we can walk them through the path to finding better resources. And so those ACS Connect to Care events have been here and have been extremely successful. So we're also thankful to be able to host these events here, which is in collaboration with Metro Security as well as APD. And so we talk about a layered approach, and these events have been great to have everybody involved. I thanked my teams and our teams that continue to answer the call. And I just want to thank the mayor and the city and the councilors for understanding the next strategic plans that ACS has as far as expansion and quadrants of the city. And we're here to help the community. We understand, we hear the call, we understand the need, and I can't wait for what the future holds for ACS to be able to kind of fill that gap and hug the community in the way that it hasn't been hugged before, and really understand what's going on the streets to help people walk through the process to find better resources and make the streets safer and a better quality of life for the people that are kind of in that space of need. So we're really thankful. Thank you guys for the time. I know that we still have many more people I can go on and talk about how happy I am and proud of ACS, but I think we'll get tired of hearing me. So thank you so much.
Okay, now our transit director, Leslie Keener.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here at the ATC today, and I'd like to thank Mayor, Director Escobar, and especially for seeing the value in having ACS located at the ATC and jumping on the opportunity to establish an office and a permanent presence here. I really do appreciate that. So thank you, and thank you to the ACS responders as well. It's just a big help for us to have you all here. So by adding ACS support, again, along with APD transit safety officers and our Metro Security, all under one roof at Transit's main hub, we're really able to provide all levels of intervention in a true one Albuquerque collaboration. So this allows ABQ Ride to add another layer to our multi-pronged approach to transit safety that you've been hearing us talk about over the last couple of months here. It will really help us to address the needs of our community at this facility particularly, but in turn, I believe that it's going to have a positive impact on our entire transit network and, of course, this portion of downtown as well. There's really a lot of movement at this transit hub that we've got here. We see about 2,500 boardings on weekdays and between 1,200 to 1,500 individuals coming through the ATC on a daily basis. So that's really huge. So while we've seen the number of transit-related calls for service to APD, Metro Security, and ACS decline over the last quarter, our ACS calls have actually slightly increased. So ultimately, there is a need for ACS at bus stops and at transit facilities to help with the challenges that we're seeing on their transit system. Last quarter, in particular, ACS was dispatched for 79 calls just to transit. Many of our incidents don't always require security or require force, and that's why those calls get shifted over to ACS. Oftentimes, it's just an intervention and connectivity to resources that is needed for the individuals that are using our transit system. So honestly, it's really no surprise that ACS and ABQ Ride were destined to become partners in support of our transit community. And our transit community is a community that's comprised of many riders that do not have access to alternative means of transportation. So 83% of our riders have a household income that's less than $35,000 annually, and 63% of those riders also don't have access to transportation. So for these people, ABQ Ride continues to be a lifeline to provide a connection to services and provide people an opportunity for upward mobility, and ACS can help point them to services at this hub in particular. So as Mayor had kind of alluded, the Alvarado Transportation Center is really huge. Most people don't realize the magnitude of this facility. It's not just the building that you're standing in here today. Our property actually goes from Central to Lead on the north and south ends, and then the railroad tracks to First on the east and west. And that includes the Greyhound facility, Amtrak, and the old Santa Fe Freight House building. So it is a rather large facility that we're responsible for here. And we want our safety and security teams to be checking in with people proactively. And that also means just having conversations with people, letting them know that they're there. They're depending upon the individuals to determine what the need are, and then helping them however fits best. And whether that's ACS support, it could be Metro Security with an appropriate citation from time to time, but it could just also be providing information to the individuals that are around this transit hub. So having access to these safety collaborators, they each have different skill sets, they have different citation powers and roles. I think we're holistically bettering our transit system, and I'm really excited about that. So through this balanced safety recipe, ABQ Ride looks forward to seeing the benefits of this proactive, multi-departmental collaboration of ACS alongside APD and Metro Security to address our community's needs with timely on-site intervention to support Albuquerque's diverse community. So to the ACS team, ABQ Ride welcomes you all to the ATC. We're really excited that you're here, and we thank you for placing your first hub outside of ACS headquarters here and partnering with ABQ Ride.
Thanks, Leslie.
Okay, so I think what we'll do, I'll hand it over to Jorge in just a minute for some questions. I do want to add one note. This is part of the Metro Homelessness Initiative that we announced coming out of the State of the City, where we are basically saying two things. Number one, we are going to layer and essentially double our efforts that are working. So if ACS works, we're going to do more of it, and we're going to do it more local to a neighborhood. And if we have success, with respect to some other efforts around building housing, we have to actually have two, giant hotels that we're renovating instead of one. You get the idea. But the other side of that is we're open to all ideas. And part of what ACS does is they also gather information for us from nonprofit providers, from community members about, number one, what solutions work that they're offering, but also where specific, what street corners are challenges, what alleys are challenges. All of these things are part of our work to listen, but also to be more responsive. And that's what we're doing throughout the fall as well. Okay, so I think with that, go ahead.
Any questions from the media? Yeah.
Hello. Sorry, I'm getting the shots real quick. Real quick, Daniel Espinosa with Channel 7. I would like to know, ACS has been around for 3 years, so what are some of the most notable things the team has accomplished in those 3 years?
I'll hit on some, and then Jody, if you want to jump in, by all means. I think the fact that we started off with 5 responders, and now we're well over 40. We are currently budgeted for just over 130 positions. We're currently at 104 employees, so that's a tremendous growth for our department. The fact that in 3 years we've also fielded 82,000 calls. So in the last 3 months alone, we're averaging just over 3,400 calls. I think we've transformed alternative health across the country. You've had entities such as the CARE team in Seattle. When they were first getting established a couple of years ago, they spent a whole week and a half here in Albuquerque, and I don't know if you all seen the news, they're growing tremendously and received some additional funding just last week to be able to continue that growth. A couple of weeks ago, we also had members of POLAD Foundation and the National League of Cities here, so you're talking about 11 different communities in the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area looking to build off of what we're doing. And they essentially, and unfortunately the death and the murder of George Floyd sparked this alternative health response that most cities took on. And obviously here in Albuquerque a few years before that, we had the murder of James Boyd at the base of the Sandia Mountains. And hearing from some of those groups from Minneapolis and St. Paul area where the murder of George Floyd took place, and seeing them and them showing appreciation for how much advancement we've made and the fact that they're coming here to learn about our process and how not just how our responders work, but how our administration staff works and handles and does things, I think is a testament to the foundation that Mayor Keller and the City Council, with some City Council support, has done in the last 3 years here in the city of Albuquerque with alternative health. Either one of you want to add anything else?
I think it's notable to say the collaboration between our departments, the Albuquerque Fire Department, Albuquerque Police Department, as well as all of our sister departments in the city, because we talk about a layered approach that we are trying to reach the community. And I think that collaboration has grown immensely, and I look forward to making sure that that continues to grow in every single way. I know that there's a lot of spaces that ACS can expand into, and I think we've done a really good job in a short amount of time for the 3 years. I think ACS alone has done a really good job in pivoting and answering the community and what they need, and the support of the administration and the council to say, yeah, it's great, we're gonna create a street outreach team. So we have our BHR responders that answer our 911 calls, our behavioral health responders, and then we have our street outreach team that kind of specializes in homelessness and that demographic. And then we've also pivoted in that way to bring on a little bit of navigation and case management, because we know that it's not one single touch to a community member that is the answer. And so now we're starting a little bit of the walking them through the process to really understand and make sure that they're getting the resources that we need. And so we have that team. We also have our violence intervention team that is expanding in our school-based program. And so I think in a short period of time, in 3 years, ACS has pivoted and grown close to 9 different separate teams that we know that need to answer the community in different ways. And so I'm proud of the way that ACS has been able to evolve with the support of the community as well as our administration.
I think just one more thing to add, those 82,000 calls, about 85% of the calls that we take would have been taken by APD, right? So that we're sending trained professionals in behavioral and mental health response, so social workers essentially out of the street to talk to these individuals. A lot of them, we got Ernest and Deidre here, so many people know them by their, they know so many people by their first name and vice versa. So that holistic and empathetic approach, I think, is just something that many other cities, as we mentioned earlier, are trying to model, and we're going to continue evolving that, developing that. Any other questions? Yeah.
What do you wish the community knew more about regarding ACS?
Do you handle that one?
I think a message to the community is that we are here now, and what our capabilities are. Mayor mentioned, the behavioral health emergencies, substance abuse, sometimes the domestic violence situations that we help with, displacement, we help with walking people through the process, maybe just getting an ID. A lot of people don't have IDs. They need to get IDs to even start the process. I hope that the community understands that it's such a wide umbrella of us being able to help the community in that way, and to call. The way that you get a hold of ACS is a 311 ticket, 242 cops, and in case there is an emergency, you can call 911. Of course, always call 911 if it's a safety concern. And so my message to the community is we are here, we're here to help, and we'll continue to evolve to answer the call of the community.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Another one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Forgive me if this is repetitive.
You're
but I
good.
just would like a clearer answer as to why ACS has decided to open up here at this specific location.
Yeah, so what we notice, especially on our monthly reports that we share with the public, is hotspots throughout the city. And obviously we strategically set up our headquarters in the International District because that's where the majority or the vast amount of our calls, it's something about 27% of our calls come from the International District. This area is one of the top 3 hotspots as well. We receive about 11% of our monthly calls come from the half-a-mile radius around the ATC. So it's important for us to be in the areas where the need is there, and obviously we have ways and abilities to be able to connect and facilitate those connections to resources and assistance that most people may not know exist. And obviously we as a city department have a lot of connections and train our responders to be able to identify the needs of the individuals and be able to connect them to the right resources at the right time.
Last one.
Go ahead.
Again, kind of general. What is ACS's overall goal for our viewers who might not know about the unit?
That might not know about
About ACS.
I think, you know, when people see us, they identify us as specifically a homeless support system and there for the members of the in-house community. So about 42% of the calls that we take are around the unhoused community and being able to connect them to services and shelters. But what we also deal with is and manage and help people through are suicide ideation calls, which unfortunately continue to go up. We've every single month this year, we've seen an increase, and that's about 6% of our calls are suicidal ideations. It's around 240 suicidal ideation calls a month that our responders are assisting and staying with folks. It's not just maybe 30 minutes to see how they're doing. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2-3 hours. And they talk those individuals through some of the problems and some of, you know, the difficulties that they might be going through, and connecting them to places like Caseman or some mental health providers to ensure that they're taken care of. So we're beyond more than just a department that assists the unhoused community. We're really there to help everyone with mental and behavioral health issues. Anyone else? Awesome. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it.